right, how about that sweet new intro, huh? Welcome back to LMBC Podcast. I ain't gonna keep up any more of your time. Let's get into part 2. Kelso Kahoniz, right now. I think I wanted to take about... until my health was cleared. After about 3 months, I think I got the green light and I was like, cool. But at that point, I thought, no, I'm not... I don't have the itch or the sort of the bug to get back in there immediately. And I think I took about 9 months off.
Yeah.
And then I got back into it. But for yourself, like, you had taken some time at this point. Was this the time that you pretty much went and took some time out to just go and do life?
No, I went a little bit longer after that. So I wrestled you, and then I came back and I was the full sober gimmick, and I had a button-up business shirt that I wrestled in.
Yep.
And we did that for like half a year, and then shows are kind of dwindling. Like we lost the Grindhouse as a venue.
Yeah, with New Globe shut down. Yeah.
Like there wasn't really like any cohesiveness between like Queensland wrestling, because everyone's just out to put themselves on a show. No one's really thinking about the big picture of making one show big.
Mm-hmm.
And also like I think I was booking up until that. I think I was booking up until pretty much our match.
Yep.
Like, what was the main event that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was booking that year.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, like I took like a leadership role at work. Mm-hmm. So I would work until 6 o'clock.
Yep.
And then I would go to the show and be there by like 6:37, and then be like organising the show. And then it wasn't enjoyable to like go straight from like being like, hey guys, do this at work, and then like literally go straight from there to wrestling and be like, hey guys, do this. I was like, I just want to wrestle.
Yeah.
And then shows kind of dwindled out, and like I had that last match, the TLC match, and it was me and Humanity versus Tim and Mitch, and versus those two guys from Perth that got thrown in last minute.
Okay.
And it was sick match.
Yep.
I finished the match taking some we put a ladder across the top rope into the ladder set up in the middle of the ring.
Okay.
And then Mitch picks me up for a FU, and then throws me into it. And when we were planning the match, because me and Tim and Toby are all like, let's get crazy.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever, let's do whatever.
Yeah.
And then we're planning through the whole match, and then we get to the end, and Mitch would be like, and then I pick you up on my shoulders, and I give you a drive up onto the ladder. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And he's like, oh, this is not going to work. And when he gets me up there, the ladder's like just too far away. There's no way he's going to be able to throw me like far enough to like land flat on top of the ladder. And he gets me up there, he's like, oh, this isn't going to work. And I'm just like, just fucking do it. So he just kind of throws me like into the ladders, and the ladders fall over.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt that bad. I had a nice like graze on my back. It actually like tore my my business shirt as well.
Yeah.
But like after that match, I was like, there was a big crowd. I think we had like 400 people for that.
Yeah, at the Zoom?
Homecoming? That was the homecoming crowd.
Oh, was it homecoming?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a big crowd. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And then they had like another match like 4 months later. It was like a show, and I wasn't on the card. And then like 4 days beforehand, they put up a video being like, Kelso Kahoniz is versing Blair Seeker or something.
What?
And I was like, well, no, I'm not. And no one asked me to work the card. And I was just kind of like, nah, I'm not into it anymore. For me, like, without a wrestling like training center, I find it hard to be like passionate about it. I want to like go train during the week. It's not enough for me to just like, I don't want to go rock up at 4 different shows of 100 people. I'd rather go to training every week, and like that's the community that I want to be involved in.
Right.
So yeah, now that training's back, I'm fully in. But yeah, after that I took like 7 months overseas last year. I went everywhere.
So were you able to, because obviously wrestling played such an enormous role in your life growing up.
Yeah.
Like it was arguably be all end all for a lot of years for you.
Yeah.
Because you were involved so often from a teenager essentially. Did you have time before taking this, massive gap and pretty much traveling the world? Was there any time during your first couple of runs there with those 3 different companies where you were able to sort of do life? Like I know you said, you took the time and said, no, I'm going to do schoolies, I'm going to have the graduation, because you worked really hard. But was there any time during that run where you could actually stop and do life, or was
easy.
wrestling like the main?
Easy. Like wrestling's never been like anything more than a side hobby, to be honest.
Yep.
Like, it's never really taken up any of my time.
Okay.
It'll be like once a month that you're on a show and you're like, oh, well, if there's something on that night, I either don't do it or I go afterwards.
So you're able to maintain.
Yeah.
Because there are some people that get so heavily invested, and I know you've met some of them as well, where the creative and everything, and the politics, the creative, the writing, the booking, the venue hiring, everything becomes almost like a second 9-to-5 job. So during those creative times, you're able to sort of handle it at both ends?
Yeah, easy.
So what sort of drove this decision then, when you said, all right, I'm doing that big homecoming match, and was there any sort of factor behind it that went, yo, I need to just chill and then go and do this experience with this trip? Or was it just a case of, I'm going to book the ticket and this is when it is, and I'll just tell you, hey, this is what it is?
No, I actually had like a couple holidays planned. So I was meant to go to Germany to go see a mate. And then we were meant to go to Canada, and my flights to Germany just got screwed. I booked with Scoot, and they have a habit of changing their flights by like, not like 1 or 2 days, but like 8 days.
Oh, great.
So I was meant to be there for like 14 days,
yep.
And then they moved my flight 8 days. So I think with like the time that I lost in flying, I was there for like 4 days or 3 days, and they're like, so you can have your money back, or we can move your flights by 7 days. And I was like, well, the reason you moved my flight 8 days is because there isn't any flights within 7 days. So like cancelled that trip, and then my mate who I was meant to be going to Canada with couldn't get a visa for Canada, so that got cancelled as well.
Yep.
And then I was like saved up all this money for these trips, and I was like, well, if I just wait another few months,
yep,
I could probably just go for like forever.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I went and saw the Cholo wrestling in Bolivia.
Wow, what was that like?
It was awful. It was that shit wrestling. Hey, I don't know if we stayed for the whole of the show, but yeah, it was like clearly like all impromptu, but like they just went out, and so I think the first match they went out and like brawled through the crowd, and this chick was like throwing everyone's drinks on her. She kept like grabbing people's drinks and pouring them on the chick she was wrestling. And at that point I was like, stop, hide your drinks. Like she'd thrown like 4 or 5, like surely by now, like, hide your drinks, don't let them take them. So that was like, yeah, it was funny, and then like the match ended, but then the next match did the exact same thing, where they just like went through the crowd and it was the exact same match.
Oh, what?
So I think we may have stayed for like maybe 2 or 3 matches. There was like one chick who did a 619 at one point. I remember seeing this other guy who was like clearly Australian as well, down the front, like hands like over his head, like, oh my god, she's about to hit a 619. Like, so yeah, that was pretty cool. And then also like we had to go see. I'm trying to think if there's any more wrestling. Oh, we went and saw the New Japan Pro in the London like the Olympic Dome. Wow. And that was a card that had Robbie Eagles on it. Yep. And Mark Davis was on there with they were like surprise tag teams in this like match. Yep. But that was pretty good because I got fucked up. I was like we were at the very back. We bought our tickets like last minute. Yeah. And we were like as far as you could possibly be up the arena. Like our back was the back of the arena.
So in the nosebleed section.
Yeah, we're literally nosebleed section. Yeah. You can bet that.
Yeah.
But like as soon as we got there, and I think we'd gone out the night before, and like one of my best friends came over and met me, and her boyfriend was living in London, so we like kicked on at their house all night, and they went to bed at maybe like 3 or 4 in the morning. Yep. And then I stayed up with their housemates until like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Whoa. And then like went back to where I was staying and didn't sleep, just kind of like stopped drinking for like 3 hours and like waited for it to be time to go meet up for this thing. And then I got there, and they were like both so hungover, and I like hadn't slept and was just fine. They were so mad. They're like, "Oh my god, I'm so hungover." I'm like, "That's what you get for sleeping." But yeah, because we were like in the back, the very back. I remember by the time like Davis came out, I was just like, "Oh, that's my mate! Oh, that's my boy! That's my boy! Biggest dick you'll ever see, man! And then, like, he clearly can't hear anything from what I'm saying, from how far back I am.
Yeah.
But boy, because the people around me,
Yeah.
I was like, probably the most obnoxious person. Like no one at Grindhouse would have ever come to as close as obnoxious as I got.
Wow. So that was. Did you message him? Did you able to speak to him?
Yeah, but they're pretty strict on their social media stuff during their shows. They all had to turn off their social media during the shows,
right,
and whatnot.
Yep.
But so that's pretty much all the wrestling I saw, I think.
What was the trip like? Where did you go?
I went to South America for 2 months, which is dope. If you get a chance to go to South America, definitely go. Then went to Europe for 3 months and did Berlin, Croatia, London, and then a few little random places in Slovenia and whatnot.
Yep.
And then we did. I did 2 months in Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, which was good. And then I came back and was like, shit. Gotta go back to live.
Yeah, right.
But it was kind of good. I came back just as the new training centre was opening up, which was perfect. I remember watching some wrestling while I was over there and being like, oh, I actually lost heaps of weight and just kind of even though I was partying non-stop, I actually managed to get a lot fitter while I was there, just because during the week instead of being in a desk job all week, I was out hiking all week and
of course, yeah,
just lost heaps of weight. So I came watched some wrestling over there and was like, yeah, I'm ready to get back into it.
Oh, okay.
So I came straight back into wrestling training and was like, all right, when are we starting?
Right. Okay. And that's when you're at your current incarnation now of your current version of your character. Yeah.
Wacols Most Wanted. Yeah.
I remember you being here. You came to me. You came over and you're like, "Oh man, I'm developing this new idea. What do you reckon?" And I was like, "What's your idea?" And you told me it, and I was like, "This is this is insane."
Yeah.
But if there's one person to pull it off, man, it's definitely.
Jesse was when we were talking about the idea, and he was like, "This is the worst. This is the dumbest gimmick ever. It's dumb." And then we did our first mockumentary of us doing it, and he's like, "Yeah, this is pretty good."
Have you aired that mockumentary? Is it available online?
Yeah, 2 of them now.
Yeah,
you haven't watched them yet.
No, I'm saying, is it online, on YouTube?
Yeah, Wacols Most Wanted on Facebook.
On Facebook, okay, cool.
You just search Wacols Most Wanted.
Wacols Most Wanted.
Wacols Most Wanted.
All right, man. Because you guys did one. Was it one match?
We did the Rumble.
Right.
And then we did.
Which was, I think, with your creative idea, the Purge.
Yeah,
I did the Purge Rumble.
Yeah, I booked the Purge.
Okay.
Because I just knew it sucked when I didn't do it. Then we got last minute put into a 6-pack challenge on the last AWA show before, I think it was the last one they did before they stopped doing them. It was pretty good. Because it was we left them as a mystery man to the match.
Yep.
And then we played Rufio's music. Instead of our own.
Yeah. And
then Rufio's music hit, and there was a big pop. The crowd's like, "Oh my god, Rufio's here!"
Yep.
And then me and Skinny D come through the side entrance and jump the barricade, and we grab a microphone, and Skinny D's like, "Whoa, I bet you're excited to see Rufio, aren't ya? Well, too bad. He's locked up in the back of my Toyota Camry V6.
Man, did you get what was the crowd reaction like?
There was hate. I don't know. we don't want to be either. So we're just we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. This is the part of the podcast now that I like to call a deep dive, where I ask you a series of questions and only you yourself can give your own unique spin and answer to. So you ready for a deep dive?
Yeah.
All right, man. If you were to go back in time, all the way back to you as a kid, having your first wrestling experience, if you were able to teleport and materialize in front of, 13, 14, 15-year-old you?
Me?
Yeah. If you were able, you're there, you had your first training session.
Trick my 5-year-old me out.
No, I meant your first training session.
Oh, training session. Right.
Yeah, no, don't go back and visit yourself as a kid watching TV. That's just weird. No.
Myself out,
no. Your first time you went to training, maybe even after your first match, what is something you would tell yourself now if you were just starting out?
After my first training session?
If you were just starting out now, what would you tell yourself?
like, I was a shitty little 13-year-old. I'm definitely not going to listen to anything that I was going to tell me.
Would you listen to yourself, though?
Definitely not. I'd be like, where are you now? You want to give me advice? What have you done with your wrestling career? What are you? You've only wrestled in Brisbane? Yeah, good one. Fuck off.
Alright, let's say for argument's sake that 13-year-old you does listen to you.
Alright, 13-year-old me. I would tell me to... go work out properly. Put on some weight while you're young and growing. Don't wait until you're been drinking and partying for 3 years or 8 years before you like decide that you're going to try and get fit. It's way easier to get rid of a beer belly than it was way easier to avoid a beer belly than to get rid of a beer belly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's sound advice, man, because, there are those moments where you go, man, I really wish...
And another thing I'd do as well, like, when I was, like, 13, like, watching wrestling at that time, like, the chances of being a smaller guy and getting booked, even, like, through until, like, I was, like, about 20, like, it's only been, like, the last, like, 5 to 7 years that, like, smaller guys are getting booked. So, and also, like... The surge of like wrestling its popularity, where you can actually go make money wrestling on the independents without actually going into one of the large companies. Like I always had that in my mind, like I'm 5'10", I don't weigh much. Like chances of me like going anywhere with it very slim. So I'd go back and be like, bro, there's gonna be a resurgence of it. Wrestling's gonna get real popular again. Don't be a bitch about it, just do it.
I think 13-year-old you would have been like...
Well, if I'd gone when I was 18, if I'd gone and like trained somewhere like overseas, I could have like, who knows what I could have done.
Could have been stealing people's drinks and hitting 619s over in Bolivia.
I've been a troll of wrestling. I tried to contact them to see if I could train with them while I was there, but like they don't have any emails or like it's pretty third world there. But
be honest, they blocked you.
Oh man, no. Even though I was making fun of it and being like, "Oh, this is shit wrestling." There's no way I could have done anything in the altitude there. Like it's over 4,000 meters above sea level, and it's like hard walking up slight hills. I can't imagine getting in there and wrestling. I would have been like, "Oh man." So like. Kudos to them for being able to wrestle at 4,000 meters above sea level.
Man, you'd be gassed just doing the entrance. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, shit. Like, do you have any personal heroes?
Like choose anyone to like just hang out with?
Yeah, like do you have any heroes in your life that you sort of look up to and go, yeah, like he's a cool dude?
If I was going to hang out with anyone and pick their brain, probably D-Bry. He's just a genius.
So you stick with wrestling, yeah? You stick with Daniel Bryan?
Well, I'm kind of, I don't want to like just go. It's too broad. I'm just keeping it in my selection.
Yeah.
I'd like if I would pick anyone of mine, I'd probably pick or Michaels. Michaels or D-Bry.
Yeah.
Someone who like you just go. If you sit down and have a beer and like find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Those are the guys you want to learn from.
Now, given the amount of time that you've been active up here in the scene.
Yep.
You'll know firsthand what I mean by having a switch.
Yeah.
Something and for those that are listening, the switch is what we usually call something that switches you from everyday personality into your character. As a little behind the scenes here, do you have anything like a switch or anything that you sort of like a ritual where you go, okay, I need to go from this to this? Sometimes it's putting on the hood, sometimes putting on the glasses, sometimes the music hits. Do you have any
music? Yeah,
music
hits. I'm good to go.
Yeah. What have you ever had those weird circumstances? And feel free to say no. But you ever had those weird circumstances when you're walking out everyday life and you hear your song and you go, ah, and you go, and you sort of have to fight the switch. Then you're like, ah.
Well, no, because my like one it was edited so that I had air horns. Like I know the song, but like my music starts and it goes, and then I go out. So unless I hear nothing's switching me on.
What about during the LMFAO days?
Huh?
But what about?
Oh yeah, I remember like being in the club. So I used to come out to like Chris Brown. They used to play in the club all the time. Like, oh, it's my interest music. It's my interest music.
Right. So okay, so the music is the switch, man. Is there something that you believe in that most people will disagree with you about?
Let's narrow it down.
Because you're a pretty outspoken like activist about like, you know, political things and things that you feel right and wrong about. So is there anything that you believe in that people consistently will disagree with you about, and you're like, no, this is good, like you need to understand like the positivities of this?
Well, I've been vegetarian for 27 years, so like
right, okay,
got their like high walls and that, but I've been vegetarian for 27 years, so like I don't really care anymore. Is that something that was a decision that you just made as a kid? I was raised, and then I can just continue. I don't see any point. There's real no reason to eat meat. If you think that meat's like the be all end all and makes all your meals better, you just haven't tried what's on the vegan range these days. When I was like in high school, not even high school, primary school, I remember like going to school camps, and we would get like, you know, like a sausage and onion for like dinner on school camp.
Sure, yeah.
I'd get the sandwich and onion for dinner on school camp.
Yeah.
There was like no eating for me when I was like real young, and then like even through like high school it was pretty hard. I remember like they would have like one vegetarian meal that they would do a week, and it would be one day of the week that they would have it. So I wasn't eating there. But now it's like 2020, like even 7-Eleven has like vegan pies for like $3. Like,
do you feel like in the last 10 years,
vegan, even less, vegan, like last 5 years,
it's been sort of more socially, I mean it's weird to say, but do you feel like it has been more socially accepted?
Yeah, even like the year that I was like away overseas, and I also didn't really go out of my house for like 6 months before that because I was saving to go overseas.
Right.
I remember coming back, and like my mate's living in West End, and he's like, there's this vegan place here, there's this vegan place here, and there's this vegan place here. And I was like, where did all these places come from?
Yeah.
It all like popped up in like the last year or two.
Yeah, because it has been that sort of weird social acceptance, almost a re-emergence, if you will, of like putting veganism into like the mainstream.
Oh yeah.
And it's quite right.
It's
like
the only way forwards. Like when people don't like to hear it, but like the way that people like torture animals for food right now is in the future it's going to be looked upon the same way that we look at like slavery back in the day, and everyone's like, oh, that's bloody outrageous, you can't compare this thing to...
Can't believe that happened.
Yeah, you can't compare that to... In the same way you'd be like, hey, maybe we should give the women the right to vote, and everyone's like, oh, we couldn't give the women the right to vote. And you'd be like, well, I feel like you not wanting to give the women the right to vote is like looking back at how we had slavery back in the day, and everyone's like, oh, this is two completely different things. It's going to be like one of the things going forwards where eventually everyone's like, oh, back in 2020, how did you guys mass farm all those animals and fuck the planet for us?
Yeah.
Like, we all know that we're, like, fucking the planet. So you're going to have to one day, like, if you have grandkids, be like... They'll be like, so you knew that I was going to be left with, like, a fucked planet. Why did you keep doing it? And you'll have to be like, well, back in my day, like, you know, like... I'm not going to have that conversation with my grandkids. I'm going to be like, well, I did my best.
Yeah. Yeah. I had no idea. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. To know that it was just a thing. Like, it was just, that's it for you. Like, I don't think anything of it. That's awesome. What was it like eating overseas? Like, was there a lot of...
easy.
Was it easier than here?
Do you think if you're in, like, third world, like, countries, they're not eating meat for every single meal. People always say it's like a luxury. No, it's not sort of. It's like a privilege that you could like choose to be vegetarian and vegan, because like most places can't choose what they eat unless you're like living in areas of like, say like if you lived in the Alps of Peru. They're heavy on potatoes and quinoa and alpaca meat.
Right.
But with their alpacas, they're in Peru, they believe that all animals should live free. So they don't have any farms. They're not factory farming the alpacas. Wow. They go out there, and when they're ready for an alpaca, they go and hunt it and they eat the alpaca. So when you say like you're vegetarian, they're like, oh, why? Like they don't understand the concept, because they go and hunt the alpaca, so it's like a different concept. But like most of their food is vegetarian, because you'd go and have your alpaca as like the luxury that week. You'd go like, but most of the time you'd be eating vegetables.
Yeah.
But yeah, so most Brazil, everything is like, it's only like in real like city areas like Buenos Aires and like Lima that you'd have difficult to find vegetarian food, just because there's so many people there and there's so little space that all their food is just processed meat, because they can freeze it and send it wherever they want, whereas fresh vegetables hard to get.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, you'd think in looking at that and hearing that, you'd think it quite honestly would be the other way around. You'd think like vegetables would be
it's
just
just
everywhere.
there's just areas where like it's just so suburban and so huge. Like like 9 million, like I think there's like 11 million people or something in Lima. Like it's huge and it's like not a farming area. So like everything, all the food's brought in from other places, and like the easiest thing to like freeze and package is shitty processed meat. So send all the good meat to the US, and then they get all the shitty processed meat.
Crazy, man. Are you a reader? Do you enjoy reading?
No.
Oh. Fair enough.
I read this book recently though that was because my mum used to do prison radio. She did like a whole thesis on how prison radio can help people on the inside, and so she has all these like books that are like she used for her thesis and whatnot. And one of them was this book called I can't remember what it's called, but it's like about stories of prisoners who have been in isolation for like I think the first story is a guy who's been there for like 35 years or something in isolation. So he's been in like his cell and he has like an hour out to walk around and thing on his own every day for 35 years. Wow. He just tells about how like people like lose their minds in like the cells and whatnot. And it's cool like going through all the different stories. Like especially like in that period where like we were pretty isolated. So like reading about this and then being like having your feelings validated but also like put in perspective.
Yeah.
So that was a good read. And I've got this Chris Jericho's book at the moment. I showed that at the start.
Which one is it?
Lionheart, I think it's the first one.
Oh yeah, Lion's Tale or Around the World in Spandex or something like that? Yeah.
I only read like a chapter or two. I'm just not a big reader.
Yeah, fair enough. Alright, this is the part of the podcast now which I like to call the Lipton 6. This is in tribute of James Lipton, who sadly we lost earlier this year in March 2020. He was an American writer, lyricist, actor, and the dean of the Actors Studio Drama School at Pace University in New York City, where he hosted and ran his TV show Inside the Actors Studio from 1994 to 2018. So, in honor and tribute of him, I'm going to ask you his famous 6 questions that he would ask all his guests before wrapping up his interview. So here we go. First one, what is your favourite word?
Favourite word? That's a question that you don't get asked very often.
Kahoniz.
What do I say all the time? I don't know. What would you say? What would I say if you like had to like make fun of me for saying a word? What would you say?
Hey Kelso, what do you think about this? No.
No. Onomatopoeia. There you go. That's a fun word.
Okay. What turns you on? Now, it can be in the way that you're thinking, or it can be in a life thing, like, obviously, all those experiences you've had.
Yeah.
You know, being an opportunity to maybe, see the forest, try something new. So, 2 variants and a way to answer that question.
Alright, let's go.
Whichever way you want to answer it, man.
Frothy beer.
Yeah.
A frothy beer on a like a midday frothy beer on like a, not the middle of summer, let's go like March. Like the entire time that we were stuck in isolation, that would have been the best time to be having a frothy beer out in the sun.
Oh, wait, maybe even a follow-up to that. What sound or noise do you love? Yeah.
Oh, and
there we go.
No, I like more than a chop, I like a good forearm and you can hear them.
Yeah.
You always go, oh, that didn't sound very good.
What is your favourite curse word?
Can't.
Alright, moving right along. Now, if you weren't doing wrestling, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
If I could just like work on the slopes, I see people who do like 6 months here and 6 months up north, that'd be dope.
Yep. So slopes is in like what you're gonna...
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing it.
Is that a cheap plug into your upcoming endeavours?
So if you want to come down to Threadbow, just hit me up and be like, hey, I want to be on the tour bus that Kelso's on. Then we can focus up.
Alright, man, last of the final 6. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Day for it, lads. And then he throws me a can.
Alright, man, this is a segment called the Final 4. Just before we hit that pedal real hard, hit that NOS and drive it full steam Vin Diesel style towards the sunset, wrapping up this podcast, I'm going to hit you with what I like to call the Final 4. So first of the Final 4. Was there ever a point in your life that you thought, hey, I don't know about this. this might not be for me? And if so, when was it?
I don't know. When I went to uni just the entire time, pretty much. That was just for me.
Really?
Yeah, no, I hated uni.
What were you studying that you didn't?
I was studying to be a primary school teacher. And that bit was fine, but the actual being at uni was like, oh, this fucking sucks. I hate this.
Did you end up finishing it?
I dropped out.
Yeah.
I would have lasted like 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever stopped and thought, man, how the hell did I get here?
Oh, man.
And if so, when was it? Would it be one of your trips overseas?
I'm sure it's been a million times. Are we thinking like a good, oh, fuck, how did we get here? Like, oh, wow, how did I get here? Or are we thinking, oh, fuck, how did I get here?
Hey, man, it's either one of the two. You can do both if you want. You can do a good and a bad.
Man, I remember down at Tooley's, because we had like had a big night out with like Josh Hayes, Mark Davis, Zero, the usual suspects.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point there was like, to wingman Davis, I had to like sleep in the car for the night. So there was a spot for the girls in the car. So like, I'm a team player. And it was like, it must have been like the Saturday that like schoolies had just started. And then I was like sleeping in the car, and then like one of our friends, like ex-girlfriends or something, was down there for his school. So I'll mind you, I was like 19, so they were like 17.
Sure, yeah.
And she got a message like, oh yeah, come to our apartment. And I was like, oh, thank God, get me out of this fucking car. So I like go and hang out with them. But pretty much like, I realised as soon as they got there, the reason that they like wanted me to come over so bad, they're like, you're 18, right? Can you go buy alcohol?
Oh, no.
So I was like, yeah, of course I can.
Yeah.
And so when like got them all their booze, I remember like I just like had all my hours cut back at work or something, so I was not making enough money to like pay rent pretty much. I was making just enough to pay rent, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then they were like, with all these kids, and like I think the whole floor had gotten raided like the night before or something, so all their alcohol had gotten like confiscated.
No.
So the whole floor was like, hey bro, here's some cash, can you go get some alcohol? Can you get some alcohol?
Yep.
So I kept going down there, and I was like, I think at the time I was charging like $60 for like 2 bottles of vodka, and then I would come back and I found this place that was doing like 2 bottles of vodka for $40. So I was like just pocketing $20 every time I went to the shops. But I remember like waking up like one of the mornings that week, and there was like the apartment next to us were like grotty outs and just had trashed it. And there was like a can of baked beans out there. I remember using a broomstick to like drag the can of baked beans close enough for me to be able to steal it off their apartment. And I like cracked it open and ate like cold baked beans with a spoon at like 6 o'clock in the morning or something, thinking like, oh, how did I get here? So that was definitely a low point.
Yeah. At the age you're at now, rewinding time back to, having your first training session, did you ever think at the age you're at now, back then, that this is where you'd be and this is what you would have accomplished thus far in your life?
Oh no, I thought I would have done way better. I thought I would have gone and wrestled like overseas or at least interstate by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But being able to travel and see the world, man, like not a lot of people have
I hadn't even thought about it.
Alright, man, last of the final four before I let you go. Currently, as we sit here today, what is your proudest moment or achievement?
Proudest moment or achievement? Rumble Rock, the whole card for the first Rumble Rock we did the arena was dope because I put together that card.
Yep.
And then I wasn't meant to be I was in the main event. I was side hustle. Steve Moore was the leader of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And but me and Jack Haggard had been doing all of the promo for the match. And then on the day of, Steve Moore was unwell and had to pull out of the show. And I was like, oh shit, who are we going to get to like replace him on the team? And Cody's like, you've got to replace him. You've been doing all of the the media, you've got to be the leader of the team. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, like I never done a main event or anything. And then it was like all of a sudden 800 people inside the Rumble Rock Arena. and I'm getting slammed on thumbtacks, and I bladed so deep that I needed 5 stitches. But yeah, that was pretty, like, just the whole card for that, because everyone, like, there wasn't a bad match on that show. Everything, like, yeah, everyone was super stoked, like, that whole show. I don't think anyone has anything bad to say about it. And besides that, probably just, like, how many people I've gotten out there and, like, had their first match with, and, like, gotten a good first match out of them.
Yeah.
Like, would have had, like, your second match, Timmy's first match, David's first match, like, Chris Charteris, like, they all, there's so many guys who I, like, had their first match with. So, like, it's...
Well, technically you were a part of my first match. You were managing Hercules.
Yeah. Like, so many guys who have, like, come through, not so much now, but, yeah, so I had, like, a lot of guys' first match, and they wouldn't have, like... I think I got decent stuff out of everyone for their first match.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. Well, man, talk about a decent time. This has been an absolute blast from the past. This has been nostalgic as hell. I think the world of you creatively and as a person, man. You've been nothing but kind and generous to me throughout the years. Well, at least to my face. But yeah, I thank you for all that you've done, man, especially for me, and yeah, even narrowing it down to him today. Just coming on and being able to reminisce and share your story, man. It's filled in a lot of gaps for me, and I'm sure a lot of people listening will hopefully get some insight and get some little behind the scenes on the man known as Kelso freaking Kahoniz.
That's Cockroach Kahoniz.
Oh, sorry, Cockroach. Kahoniz.
Make sure you're going on there and following WACOL_S MOSTWANTE Wacols Most Wanted.
If you don't do it, he'll know about it.
Yeah, I'll come with you. I know you live. I'll find you. We'll egg your house.
Kelso, thank you again, man, for coming on board. This has been an absolute blast, and yeah, I can't wait to do this all again one day.
Yeah, sick.
Hey, thanks so much for coming back to LMBC Podcast. I hope you liked Part 1 and Part 2 with the Cockroach, Kelso Kahoniz. I want to thank Kelso again for coming on board. And hey, if you haven't done so already, please follow LMBC Podcast on Facebook and Instagram at LMBC Podcast, and on Twitter, LMBC_podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.